my chair. One arm around my pretty little gal, nothing around my dear, nothing around my dear. Bowling Green, oh, good old Bowling Green. If you see that man of mine, tell him once for me. If he loves another gal, I will set him free. Yes, I'll set him free. Bowling Green, oh, good old Bowling Green. I'm going through this wide old world, I'm going through alone. I'm going through this wide old world, I ain't got no home, I ain't got no home. Bowling Green, oh, good old Bowling Green. Bowling Green, oh, good old Bowling Green. Over yonder in the graveyard, where the wild, wild flowers grow, oh, there they laid my own true lover. She's gone from me, the flowers grow forevermore, fairer than the sweetest flower, restless as the wildest wind, born with a love deep as the ocean. This was the girl that I did win. I left her there back in the mountain to see the world, riches to gain. Oh, when I returned, no earthly treasure could ease this heart so full of pain. They're so high up on that mountain, beneath that little mound of clay, oh, the girl that I returned to marry, so still among the flowers did lay. I'll go away and I will wander. I'll lay aside my earthly gain, and I'll not end with a man with riches.
line. Said when you go to courting, oh, with a willing mind. Yeah, who been yes and side been gone.
Howdy, friends. Welcome into the fall online old time banjo festival here with entirely wonderful and beautiful cast of banjo players tonight. We've got Cathy Fink as the co host, along with myself, Brad Kolodner, coming to you from Baltimore, Maryland. And Cathy is alive and with us. Hey there, Cathy. How
Hey
you
there.
doing?
I'm good. I'm down here in Lansing, North Carolina, home of Ola Belle Reed, and you played a little bit of her music in the pre-show. Brad, that was great pre-show music.
I thank you very much.
You have excellent taste.
There was some thought behind that, indeed,
I bet.
and some
Uh,
Jake Roberts there and cousin Emmy, and it sets the stage for a wonderful evening of tunes and songs from banjo players from all over the country. And despite the circumstances, these online old time banjo festivals have been a ton of fun and a nice way to connect banjo players from all over the world. This is our third go at one of these online banjo fests. Our first one was back in May, and then we did one in late June. Took a little break for the summer, and here we are again in impressively similar circumstances at home, but able to share music with one another. And looking forward to tonight. So, what's on the bill for this evening, Cathy?
on the bill for this evening, we have an amazing, amazing group of performers. They include Paul Brown, who is, I'm just going to affectionately call him one of the sweethearts of the banjo. He can talk a banjo into making some of the most amazing, beautiful, and chilling sounds, specializing in two-finger picking, but a very versatile player, great singer, also, of course, a wonderful fiddler. And Paul is somebody I get to introduce him in a little bit, so I'll tell more about him in a bit. Um, Aaron Jonah Lewis, who has really mastered the old time classic style of playing like rags and ragtime music and all that kind of stuff. It's insanely impressive. Those of you who have spent any time listening to Fred Van Epps and Wessel Osman will be wowed. And if you haven't listened to them, you're going to want to, and listen to more of Aaron Jonah Lewis. Of course, we've got Jake Blount. He's going to be closing the evening for us. And Jake, just as Marcy and I were last weekend, is managing to be in 2 or 3 places at once this weekend. I know his butt's going to be in Providence, Rhode Island, but he's simultaneously in multiple different festivals this weekend ongoing, and also a board member of Bluegrass Pride. We'll be talking about that a little bit later, so that's really great. And Marcy and I will be doing a set, but the way that we want to kick off tonight is for y'all to hear the co-host, the co-organizer of this. When I came up with the idea back in March, I couldn't think of a better partner to launch these old-time banjo events than Brad Kolodner. He's host of a radio show on bluegrasscountry.org. He plays music with his dad, Ken Kolodner, and he plays in Charm City Junction, numerous other bands. I know he just zipped in this evening after doing some street performing for the Cultural Alliance, and he's a pretty busy guy, but he loves the banjo, and he's really becoming one of our best teachers and performers, and one of those younger people that we can count on to keep the whole thing going. So without any further ado, let's have a song from Brad Kolodner.
Hey, thank you, Cathy. Really appreciate that. Yeah, this has been a nice little bright spot in these times to have these online festivals, and really thrilled that you're all tuning in. And wherever you are, I hope you're having a nice Friday evening. It's sort of drizzly here in Baltimore, actually, after a couple weeks of just wonderful weather. And I'm going to play a tune here on my gourd banjo. This normally hangs on the wall right over there here in my office at my little row house here in Charm City. And I'm going to sing you a song that comes from the late, great John Hartford. It's called Late Last Night. I'm going to take my shoes off so they don't make too much noise. I tend to stomp my feet pretty loudly when I play. Sorry, neighbors. Here we go. Well, it's late last night when my Willie came home, and I heard this mighty rapping on the door. Slipping and a-sliding with his new shoes on. Willie, don't you rap no more. It's oh me, oh my, what's gonna become of me? I was downtown just a-fooling around. Mama, don't you cry for me. I know just what you promised me not more than 3 weeks ago. You promised that you'd marry me, standing there on your mama's kitchen floor. It's oh me, oh my, mama, don't you cry for me. I was downtown just a-fooling around. Now mama, don't you cry for me. Now if I'd listened to what my mama said, I wouldn't be sitting here tonight, picking and a-singing on this old banjo. Now mama, don't you cry for me. Oh me, oh my, what's gonna become of me? I was downtown just a-fooling around. Now mama, don't you cry for me. Take it out. Alrighty, Late Last Night from the great John Hartford to kick off this night of banjo music from players from all over the place. And woo, I'm like, my heart is pounding. That was fast.
That was fast. That was fast. You know, I think I learned that in the 1970s from maybe a Sam and Kirk McGee record. I have to look that up. But John Hartford did it. I know it was a standard for Doc Watson for a long time, and that is a great version on the gourd banjo, Brad. Love it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that tune goes way back, and I learned that from the John Hartford version. Actually, one of the first times I've actually played it was just now. I just really liked this tune as I was driving home from my concert tonight, and I was thinking, I'm going to play that song.
Don't practice too much if that's as good as it sounds the first time you play it. Don't overdo it there.
I mean, it's just 3 chords, you know.
3 chords and the truth, and a lot of fancy Brad Clawhammer stuff on the left hand there. So there we go. Well, I'm going to take the pleasure of bringing on our first guest artist tonight. He's going to be doing a workshop tomorrow on 2-finger picking. And I'm thinking I met Paul Blount in about 1983 at Pinewoods Camp. He was an amazing banjo player then, and just now add, 37 years to that of more digging into old-time music. I love his playing. I love the fact that he has grabbed onto some of the esoteric nuances and details that might otherwise be lost from some of the old performers. And he recently remade a song, Gonna Build This Lovin' Land, and Marcy and I have just really taken to that song. I'm hoping he might even sing it tonight, but that's going to be up to Paul. And so from Winston-Salem, I believe, right now, please welcome the fabulous former voice of National Public Radio News, but longtime banjo picker and fiddler, Mr. Paul Brown.
Thank you very much, Cathy and Brad, everybody. It's great to be here with you tonight. I've got some old-time songs and tunes for you that I hope you'll enjoy, and I will sing that Build That Loving Land, Cathy, just as you asked. It was a wonderful introduction, and we'll start out with one originally from the first African-American star of the Grand Ole Opry, DeFord Bailey, great harmonica player. He was on the Opry in the early days and eventually left the Opry in a dispute with the organization and died almost forgotten. But in more recent years, we've heard more about him, and his reputation is growing once again, as it should. Well, this tune that he played on the Opry, the DeFord Bailey Blues, or the Shirt Tail Boogie, was also adopted by a person I knew when I was younger, Mr. Fred Cochran, who was a great fiddle player in North Carolina, but he plucked it on the fiddle. And I also heard it on the banjo in my head. And so that's where I like to play it. The DeFord Bailey Blues. Hope you enjoy it. DeFord Bailey Blues, Shirt Tail Boogie, old-time gourd banjo. And I've got this other song that Cathy mentioned coming in. J.T. Curtis was a great gospel songwriter, and I like gospel music. And this is based on one of his songs, and took the melody and some of the verse structure and made a new song of it for the times. And I'm not surprising anyone when we say we know we're in troubled times right now. And I want to ask you to vote. If you're eligible to vote in the United States, it's very important. I've been to totalitarian countries where people do not have a chance to vote. They don't have a chance to operate their government. And in this country, we are still in charge. We hire our government. Our president is our employee. But it requires participation. And some of our problems that we're having have to do with the fact that not enough people participate by voting. So I'm going to personally ask you to vote. Help preserve democracy, help preserve freedom to travel, freedom of expression, freedom of assembly, and the community spirit that has made the United States a great country. I hope you'll vote wherever you are. I made this song called Build That Loving Land to celebrate what we have and what we want to keep building on and improving, based on that old song from J.T. Curtis. And I hope you'll sing it the way Cathy and Marcy do, and spread it around, make up your own words to it, whatever comes to mind. Get in while the times are troubled. Get in while times are troubled. Get in while the times are troubled. Let's build that loving land. Come on, little children, come on. My brothers, come on. My neighbors, let's build that loving land. Let's feed our hungry children. Feed our hungry children, feed our hungry children, let's build that loving land. Come on, my sisters, come on, my brothers, come on, my neighbors, let's build that loving land. Let's help the poor among us, help the weak among us, let's help the old among us, let's build that loving land. Come on, my sisters, come on, my brothers, come on, my neighbors, let's build that loving land. Let's clean the air around us, protect our fields and forests, protect our lakes and rivers, let's build that loving land. Come on, my sisters, come on, my brothers, come on, my neighbors, let's build that loving land. Let's welcome our new neighbors, welcome our new neighbors, welcome our new neighbors, let's build that loving land. Come on, my sisters, come on, my brothers, come on, my neighbors, let's build that loving land. Let's vote in our elections, vote in our elections, let's vote in our elections, let's build that loving land. Come on, my sisters, come on, my brothers, come on, my neighbors, let's build that loving land. Let's walk the path together, walk the path together, let's walk the path together, let's build that loving land. Come on, my sisters, come on, my brothers, come on, my neighbors, let's build that loving land. There it is. Let's build that loving land, and I hope we will continue to do that if we all participate. It'll help us out a whole lot. Well, years ago, when I was pretty young, the history of the banjo was not as plain to people as it has become lately. And the way I grew up, my mom learned most of her first songs from African American musicians in Piedmont, Virginia, around Lynchburg and Bedford and places like that. And later I ran into additional musicians after learning songs from my mom when I was a kid. My core repertoire of songs came from African American musicians through my mom. And then I started to meet more people in string band music, and you never, hardly ever saw a black person playing old-time string band music in those days. Taj Mahal was out there with his banjo, but that tradition had about disappeared, and a lot of the songs had too. So this next one, I've got a couple of songs about trains, about traveling, which is a great part of American tradition, but it's also a big part of African American culture, because in many cases, especially in the South, it was hard for an African American person to have a home, a stable home, and to make a living without moving around a lot. So a lot of these old songs have to do with traveling and moving on. A whole bunch of the songs my mom knew were like that. This one was a popular song on the Grand Ole Opry, and even Uncle Dave Macon played it in a very different version, When the Train Comes Along. But I went back and found some really early recordings, and they were from African American string bands and duos back in the early days of 78 Records. And I put the song to the banjo, and then I've got a family song to sing you right after that that deals with some of the same themes. When you see that big headlight, you know I'm gonna be right. I'll be waiting at the station when the train comes along. When the train comes along, when the train comes along, I'll be waiting at the station when that train comes along. When that train comes down the track, you know it won't be back. I'll be waiting at the station when the train comes along. When the train comes along, when the train comes along, I'll be waiting at the station when that train comes along. When you hear that whistle blow, you know I'm ready to go. I'll be waiting at the station when that train comes along. When the train comes along, when that train comes along, I'll be waiting at the station when that train comes along. When that train comes down the track, you know I'll never be back. I'll be waiting at the station when the train comes along. When the train comes along, when that train comes along, I'll be waiting at the station when the train comes along. So there's an old version of a song that became really popular in country music, and it sounds a whole lot more mournful. Here's another one. This is one that I learned from my mom, and this song is all over the South and all over the country, really, because the legend of Railroad Bill was so compelling to so many people. And we thought for a long time we knew who Railroad Bill was, a man named Morris Slater who worked in the turpentine camps down in Florida. And he was active around 1895-96, robbing trains, throwing stuff off of trains, especially in African American communities where people didn't have enough to eat, or maybe they didn't have enough food, and he'd throw coal off. In Florida and Alabama, the railroads tried to get him, and they never really could catch him, especially the L&N Railroad. And eventually a gentleman was captured and shot by police, and they thought he was Railroad Bill, but it wasn't Morris Slater. So there's still a lot of mystery. Railroad Bill could have been Morris Slater. It could have been someone else. It could have been a combination of people. And in a lot of communities, the folklore built up that he was also a shapeshifter, which is how he eluded capture for years. Maybe he could change himself into a fox or a cat or something. Well, my mom's family, those folks, the folks my mom learned from, and she taught me, this version of Railroad Bill is the one I knew when I was a kid. And it's interesting to me because it has words that are unlike any of the other Railroad Bill versions that I've heard. And they're similar in some ways, but the big difference is this one is partly from the viewpoint of Railroad Bill's family. Most of the Railroad Bill songs concentrate on his exploits, and his exploits were amazing, whoever he was. But this one is much more personal, and his family wants him to come home. Railroad Bill. Railroad Bill, going out to the west, shot all them buttons off that poor brakeman's vest. In the morning, Railroad Bill. Railroad Bill, going out to the east, shot out that brakeman's tongue and he never touched his teeth. In the morning, Railroad Bill. Mama sent him a letter, sister fixed a stamp. Says, come home, Billy, if you have to tramp. Says, come home, Railroad Bill. Mama sent him a turkey, sister sent him a ham. Papa sent him a letter by special telegram. Says, come home, Railroad Bill. Railroad Bill, standing on the bank, he's waiting for that fast freight they call a Nancy Hanks. In the morning, Railroad Bill. Railroad Bill, standing on the curve, waiting for that fast freight. Wouldn't you like to have his nerve? In the morning, Railroad Bill. Railroad Bill from Bedford County, Virginia, back in the 1920s. The legend was still alive, and so now I'm going to get out an old historic banjo. This is the banjo that I used to work with Mike Seeger on recording an album way down in North Carolina all those years ago. This is the one that aced New River Train when none of the others could do it. It wouldn't sound right. When I was in my 20s and I talk about these histories of these songs, some of them, and in my 30s too, go out and play somewhere, a lot of people had no idea that the banjo had an African heritage, and some of them didn't want to hear about it. Say, why are you telling me all this stuff? Just play some country music. I'd say, well, because this is the truth. This is what it is. You know, you can do what you want with it, but this is what it is. And now I'm so happy to see a new generation of musicians taking up the banjo, and many African American players, which we did not have when I was in my 20s. They weren't around. Telling people and recapturing this tradition and making it what it is and should be and ought to be. I never thought I'd live to see it. It's a great thing. Well, I knew an old man by the name of Fields Ward. He was raised around Independence, Virginia. Great guitar player. He played with the original Bog Trotters. He was a fabulous square dancer, and eventually moved up to Maryland, which is when I met him. And I wanted to meet him because I heard an old scratchy recording of him from the 1930s, early 40s, and the way he phrased his singing was a whole lot the way my mom did. I said, and some of the songs were the same too, different names, different words, but the same song, same theme, same story, all that stuff. I said, I've got to find this gentleman if he's still around. He was. And so I got to know him towards the end of his life. We had a wonderful friendship during those years. And he was also a good banjo picker, which I didn't know. His uncle Wade Ward was a famous banjo picker. But Fields played the banjo too. And here's one of the tunes that I learned from him. It's called Old Man's and Old Woman's Quarrel. Old Man's and Old Woman's Quarrel. I love a love song. This one was popular around 1913, the first I know. Everybody hears it, and a lot of the bluegrass bands play it nowadays too. And they just sort of roll over it, you know. But it's a really heartbreaking song in a way. It's a very intimate song if you really listen to the story. Sort of, you know, you love someone and you can't live with them and you can't live without them. Somehow you have to do both. Oh, it's yonder stands little Maggie with her dram glass in her hand. She's drinking away her troubles and courting another man. Oh, how can I ever stand it to see them two blue eyes? They shine just like the diamonds in the sky. Now sometimes I have a nickel, and it's sometimes I have a dime. Sometimes I have $10 just to pay little Maggie's fine. I'd rather be in some dark holler where the sun don't ever shine than to know you're another one's darling and to know that you'll never be mine. Now the first time I seen little Maggie, she's sitting down by the sea. Had a 44 strapped all around her and a banjo on her knee. Now the next time I seen little Maggie, she's sitting down by the sea. Had whiskey bottles stacked all around her and a banjo on her knee. Well, they marched me down to the station with my suitcase in my hand. I'm going away for to leave you, going away to a far distant land. Little Maggie, it's about time for me to go down the road here. And might as well end with one, maybe just a little happier here. A happier love song. And we'll end the way we started off with the gourd banjo. Thank you so much, Cathy and Marcy and Brad and everybody who's been putting on these events this year. I think it's a great community builder. It keeps us all together, even though we can't visit in person. And I hope I'll see you down the road soon. We'll get to make some music together. Ida Red, I'm in love with Ida Red. Ida Red, she ain't no fool. She rides into town on a humpback mule. Ida Red, I'm in love with Ida Red. Ida Red, I'm in love with Ida Red. Ida Red comes into town. She's a riding on a billy goat, pulling a hound. Ida Red, eyes of blue, I'm in love with Ida too. Ida Red, thank you everybody. See you down the road.
Hey, thanks so much, Paul. Beautiful playing, as always. Thanks for joining us.
Been great to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Can't wait to visit in person and have some tunes.
Yeah, no kidding.
And before you run, I'm curious, who is that in the picture behind you over your fireplace? I've been staring at that while you've been playing and wondering.
Oh yeah, I can always remember the name except when I am asked the name.
Okay.
John Lee Hooker. It's John Lee Hooker. And Sean Beard was the painter. He's a local artist here in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So he oversees all the proceedings here.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Paul. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll catch up soon.
Looking forward to next time.
All
That
right.
Paul Brown's pretty amazing.
Oh, my goodness. Beautiful playing. Way to bookend the set with two gourd banjo pieces, all the history all the knowledge. He's a real treasure and a resource for us all. And I grew up listening to him on the radio as a radio buff myself as a little kid, listening to the news all the time on the radio and Orioles games, and I would hear his voice come on the radio, and it's funny how years later, connecting in such a different way. We even crossed paths a couple times when he was still at NPR, and we would cross paths in the hallway at WAMU, since I host a couple of shows there, and it's just a funny colliding of worlds, and just a beautiful set there from our dear pal Paul Brown. Well,
and for folks who want to learn more about Paul's playing, there's room in his workshop tomorrow. You want to talk about that, Brad?
Absolutely. He's doing a 2-finger workshop. I noticed a lot of comments there about what tuning Paul was in for a bunch of those numbers, and you can join his workshop tomorrow right here at the online Old Time Banjo Festival. There is a link in the description of the video on YouTube and Facebook that brings you to the page that has all the links for the info on the workshop that he's teaching and all the other workshops this weekend. We've got Cathy teaching tomorrow a workshop about, I'm sure you'll dive into it, Cousin Emmy, and you'll get into it in a minute here, I'm sure, describing what your workshop's about. And then we have Jake Blount also doing a workshop tomorrow. So yeah, just a full weekend of banjo goodness. And yeah, you can ask Paul those questions about tuning and how he's doing all that with his 2 fingers. My goodness, it's like watching, I don't even know how to describe it. It's so cool. So different than playing clawhammer. All right. So let's see here. Who do we have up next? Oh, that's right. Cathy and Marcy are playing next here on the Fall Online Old Time Banjo Festival. A quick plug in for the virtual tip jar. I posted that in the description. So certainly that's the best way to contribute to this event, divvied up amongst the performers, and really appreciate anything you can offer. But we do provide this for free on YouTube and Facebook as a service to the community. If you're able to support us, please, in the virtual tip jar there, Venmo and PayPal. Okay, let's move on now to Cathy and Marcy, big musical heroes of mine, good pals. Cathy and I even had a chance just last week to get together in person and play some tunes. We had a little jam on my folks' patio up here in Baltimore, a social distance jam broadcast out to the world on our Baltimore Old Time Jam page. And that was super fun to see you and play some tunes, even though we were kind of spread out. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I guess there were 4 of us and spread out your little hive bubble group, not too far apart from each other, and I had to be about 10 feet away, but could still hear well enough to play along. And gosh, it was great to play old time music with other people, not on Zoom. Not that I mind that we can all get together here and tomorrow in our classes, etc., but you know, just that ability to hear each other and feel the vibe of the live thing was really wonderful.
Well, don't you go anywhere. We've got Aaron Jonah Lewis and Jake Blount coming up later, but folks, let's now turn it over to that wonderful dynamic duo down there in Lansing, North Carolina, the Grammy-winning pair, Cathy Fink and Marcy Marxer.
All right.
Thank you, Brad.
Thanks, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I know we got some pals here all the way from Winnipeg, Manitoba. Howdy, Daniel Kulak, who is one of my favorite banjo players. Arnie Naiman up in Toronto, or perhaps still at his cabin up north. And folks from all over. Margie Joy in Seattle. We got a pretty wide little group here. So Paul did a beautiful job of telling where all of his tunes came from. This is a tune that Marcy and I learned in a jam session with Jimmy Costa, that really wild man, wonderful fiddle and banjo player from West Virginia. And he came to D.C. to do a concert for the Folklore Society, and we had a little jam session. We learned this tune, and then I forgot it. And I phoned him up and I said, Jimmy, you have to leave this tune on my answering machine, back in the days when answering machines actually had cassettes in them. And I said, just call us up and sing the tune and we'll remember it. And that's what it was. And so here's a little tune called Sleepy Lou. Are you ready? Here we go. Costa. I have no idea where it comes from, and I did record it on my album, let's see, Banjo Haiku, back in 1992. Well, we're going to retune here.
Remember those round things? Those round
things.
flat things we used to listen to music on?
Music on both sides.
And they had a hole in the middle.
All right, let's see if we're still in tune here. Nice tuning. All right, perfect. Well, everybody knows it's been a tough week, and Paul already gave you the go vote spiel. My earrings say vote, and you never know. I might give them away this weekend. We have some skill testing questions coming up in our banjo trivia stuff, so you never know. But anyway, it was a big disappointment to lose Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we've all got a lot of work to do. But in the meantime, we wanted to sing this song that we feel really embraced a lot of what she stood for. It was kind of like the Mother Jones, you know, mourn for the dead, fight like hell for the living. Let's keep going and do something important. This is a Henry Wadsworth Longfellow poem set to music by Lotus Dickey, the great old-time musician from Indiana. It's called Psalm of Life. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Tell me now in mournful numbers, life is but an empty dream. For the soul is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Let us then be up and doing with a heart for any fate. Still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor and to wait. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. Life is real, life is earnest, and the grave is not its goal. Dust thou art to dust returnest, was not spoken of the soul. The amazing Marcy Marxer there on the guitar and the mandolin. Well, I'm going to do something Brad did a little earlier. Not the same tune, of course, but I'm going to play something that I never play on the chord banjo and just give it a whirl, as they say. This is the song that Cousin Emmy became the most famous for, Cousin Emmy. And here is, right in the middle of our set, I'm going to do a banjo trivia. And when our set's over, I'll find out who won. No, I'm not going to do it that way because you'd have time to go look it up on the internet.
Right, here, I'll put our volume back up a little bit here.
No, don't do
No,
that.
don't do that.
Because we
I'm
won't
not
hear
doing
it.
that.
Don't do that. I'll ask that skill testing question later. But anyway, Cousin Emmy, amongst the many things she was important for in old-time music, was teaching Grandpa Jones how to play banjo. He didn't play banjo when he started out. He was a great guitar player. He sang country songs. He did all kinds of stuff. And she's the one who looked at Grandpa Jones and said, you ought to play the banjo. And she had a big rockin' right hand. not on a gourd banjo, but I've transferred this to the gourd banjo. So the tune Reuben's Train, which lots of you know, was sort of morphed into a song by Cousin Emmy called Ruby, Are You Mad at Your Man? And thanks to her, the Osborne brothers turned it into a bluegrass hit. Buck Owens turned it into a hit. It was an amazing kind of hit song, and I'm going to funk it up a bit here on the gourd banjo and hope it lasts. I hit it with my hairdryer this morning, or this afternoon.
It's looking really good.
Is it? Yeah, you dry out this. I actually saw Nora Brown do a video about using a blowtorch to dry out her her banjo heads, and I'm going to be asking her about that tomorrow night when she is part of the Saturday night banjo contest festival. No contest, just a festival. Here we go. Ruby, oh Ruby, honey, are you mad at your man? Well, I've done all I can do to try and get along with you. Still, you ain't never satisfied. Oh, Ruby, Ruby, honey, are you mad at your man? I'll set you in the shade, outdone with a spade. I'm digging in Bill Brown's gold mine. Oh, Ruby, Ruby, oh, honey, are you mad at your man? If you don't believe I'm right, you can follow me tonight. I'll set you in my shanty so cold. Oh, Ruby, oh, Ruby, honey, are you mad at your man? Oh, Ruby, Ruby, oh, honey, are you mad at your man? Ruby, honey, are you mad? Well, if you see Cousin Emmy on YouTube, you will see this amazing, amazing person. I'm going to tell a story or two about her tomorrow. And Marcy might even, she might even go get the Cousin Emmy doll. I got one more tune before we play together.
Oh, yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
can go get that.
And I'll tell you a little story about that. Meantime, Cousin Emmy is somebody I did get to meet, but I did get to meet Lily Mae Ledford of the Coon Creek Girls. And they were the first all-girls string band on the radio. They played on the WLS Barn Dance and eventually at the Renfro Valley Barn Dance. Now, Cousin Emmy started playing on the radio in about 1940 and Lily Mae in about 1937. And I'm just going to do a little bit of one of her pieces that I have fallen in love with. Mostly, Lily Mae played a very similar style to Cousin Emmy, and it was mostly that big right-hand claw hammer, same sound that you heard from, say, Grandpa Jones. But there's a couple of things that she did that were very different from that, and one of them is her haunting version of Red Rocking Chair. Who rocked the cradle? Who'll sing that song? Who rocked the cradle when I'm gone? I'll rock the cradle. I'll sing that song. I'll rock the cradle when you're gone. Ain't got no use for the little red rocking chair. Got no sugar, honey, baby here. Well, I've done all I can do. I said all I can say. Gonna see my honey next payday. Ain't got no use for a little red rocking chair. Ain't got no honey, baby, down there. Red rocking chair. What you got there, Marcy Marxer?
Well, I'm just noticing the reason why Cousin Emmy looked so good all the time is she put her makeup on and then she'll act her face.
There you go. Okay. Well, hey, hold this up closer to the camera so people can get a really good look at it.
Sure.
So I'll just tell you the little story behind this doll. When I met Patsy Montana in 1980, the first woman in country music to sell 1 million records, that's its own story, but I was over at her house for lunch one day in Long Beach, California, and I noticed that doll up on a shelf, and I said, Patsy, what is that? Who is that? That's a banjo player. Is that Cousin Emmy? And she said, yes, that's a Cousin Emmy doll. These were the centerpieces of a table at a benefit concert and luncheon for Cousin Emmy. She was in some health problems and needed a little bit of financial help, and so the country music artists got together. They put on a luncheon, and these were the table sort of centerpieces, and Patsy got to take one home. And I said, boy, I'd love to have that sometime. And after Marcy and I produced Patsy Montana's last album, she sent us this doll with a little note saying, you did so much work, I caused you so much trouble, the least I can do is give you my Cousin Emmy doll, and that's how I got it. And so we're really happy to have that. Okay, we're going to do a Canadian song. We've got at least 2 Canadians watching right now. And this is a tune from David Francie, wonderful, wonderful songwriter. Many of you know that Chris Cool toured and produced some of his stuff and performed with David for a long time. This is a song called Red Winged Blackbird, and if any of you are in the mood to sing, we hope you'll sing with us. The chorus is pretty easy. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Are you ready?
Yeah, you kick it off.
Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Try that with us. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. He'll be there beside the river when winter finally breaks its bones. He'll be there among the rushes. He'll be master of his home. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Safe as Moses in the rushes, builds home on the river wide. Every time I hear him sing, it makes me feel like a spring inside. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. He'll be there singing his heart out. He'll be telling me stories too. Where he went to winter last year, how he's getting back there too. Everybody. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. One more time. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thought I heard a red-winged blackbird down my road. Thank you so much. We had a Lily Mae Ledford song, but I think we're going to hold it for tomorrow's workshop. My workshop tomorrow is on the music of Lily Mae Ledford and cousin Emmy, and I'm really looking forward to it. And now I can ask a skill testing question while Marcy gets Brad back on there. And okay, are you ready for some banjo trivia?
I think we're ready for some trivia. Beautiful set there, by the way. I love that tune, Red Wing Blackbird. I think that's on your album, Get Up and Do Right, and that's one of my favorite songs from that record.
Thank you. Great David Francie song, and that version, or a version of Shenandoah Falls that we follow it with, came from one of my favorite listenings when I was about your age, and that would be Pete Sutherland's
Oh my God.
cassette,
Yeah.
8 Miles from Town.
That's right. Yes.
Do you know,
sort of
do you
a-
have that, or do you know anybody who has it?
I do. It's a deep cut album. Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
I actually just
I would like a digital bootleg, please.
okay. We can arrange that. I
None
actually
of
just
none of us have copies of it anymore,
don't
except
think-
for Brad.
Last
It's
I
a
heard,
really-
he didn't have a copy of it.
Yeah,
so
I
it'd
don't
be
think
good to
he
get
has
doesn't.
a copy of it.
I actually just talked to him a couple weeks about this record, and he doesn't even have a copy of. I just recorded a new album with Pete, so I'll have to let you know more about that. It's sort of a
Yeah.
secret project.
Perfect.
Well,
But
give
yeah,
me
anyway.
a digital bootleg, and I'll send him the $15.
Okay.
Oh, heck yeah, heck yeah.
Okay,
I'll take
so
$1.
skill testing
Okay.
question time here. Let's see, where did my questions go? Oh, okay, here's the first one. And the person who correctly answers this, and I'm not looking at social media, so I'm not sure.
I'll keep an eye on it here.
You keep an eye on it. Okay, the person who gets this right will get a copy, either hard copy or digital copy of Banjo Haiku, 26 of my favorite old time banjo tunes, and I'll tell you how to collect your prize later, but the question is, what was Cousin Emmy's real name? Would you like to play a little
Oh, yeah,
cello
yeah,
banjo
yeah.
while we're waiting? What was Cousin Emmy's real name? We're not supposed to give you enough time to be looking this up on the internet. Does anybody there on Facebook elsewhere know? Are we getting anything? Oops. Never mind.
That's a tough one. Cousin Emmy's real name, Cynthia May Carver.
Correct.
Oh my
Who got
God.
it?
That looks like it's from Juggle Mank out here on YouTube.
Okay.
So
Wow.
All right, Juggle Mike, what you need to do is write, and Brad could put this in the comments, please, info@cathymarcy.com, and you can get your download or your hard copy of the CD. Okay. Next
yeah,
question.
it looks like that one. Yeah, he squeaked in. That's Kyle, great banjo player who submitted to our online banjo contest and does
Oh,
a lot
cool.
of. He actually posts videos quite regularly out there on Instagram. Really fine young player out there, worth checking out.
Somebody
Juggle
who
Mike.
knows his
Great.
stuff. That's
He
awesome.
certainly
All right.
does.
Which banjo player? Here's our next question, folks. Oh, and the winner of this one will get a
We should do a banjo newsletter giveaway, right?
banjo newsletter.
that's a great
Actually,
idea.
So
that would-
Kathy, yeah,
You can ask this
we
question.
did an interview. I know this is a bit of nepism.
Go
but
for it.
That's me.
Nice.
And on page something there's an interview of that you did back in, I think it was probably before even the pandemic was really in full swing, and it was a really nice chat that is documented here. And if you aren't familiar with Banjo Newsletter, you should be. It's just a wonderful collection of stories and tablature and all kinds of good things. So Cathy interviewed me on about just what I've been up to lately, and then we talk about the old time online Banjo Fest. There's all kinds of cool stuff in here, so we'll give this one away. I've got like 20 of these, so please,
That's great.
I'm ready to just.
Well, it happens to be
Toss
a
them
great
out to the
article,
world.
and doesn't it have some tab of one of your pieces?
Yeah, there's a tab of a tune that I wrote that I'll play tomorrow evening. A tune that I wrote called "Stony Run," the title track of the album,
great.
the new album with my dad and I. Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so in that light, I'm going to ask skill testing question number 2, banjo trivia. In 1973, who started Banjo Newsletter?
Ooh, good one.
In 1973, who started Banjo Newsletter? Anybody know? Going once. Going
We'll give it-
twice.
Oh, there it is. Jim B. with Hub Nietzsche.
All right.
Correct. Hub Nietzsche
yeah.
started
Jim B
Banjo
coming
Newsletter.
through in the clutch. Jim, if you can email me, Brad Kolodner at Gmail, I will hook you up with Banjo Newsletter if you'd like one. I'll send
Awesome.
you.
And I just want to say Hub Nietzsche was a wonderful guy. In 1974, I heard about Banjo Newsletter. We were visiting my mom in Baltimore, and I just had the nerve, got up my nerve to call up the phone number in Banjo newsletter and see if they would talk to me. And it was this wonderful guy named Hub Nitchie, and he said, well, why don't you come on over? And my former partner and I spent an afternoon at Hub Nitchie's house. It was an incredible afternoon. He loaded me up with all of the early banjo newsletters, which I recently passed on to Trey Wellington. And we did that right before we went to see Don Reno perform at a local bar in Annapolis. So big day.
Wow.
All right. We'll save a couple of these skill testing questions for later and move on with the concert here. And by the way, folks, don't forget there is a tip jar. If you are a weekend pass holder to the online Old Time Banjo Festival, please don't feel any obligation to contribute to the tip jar. You've kind of already done that, although if you've got some spare change and you want to give some more, go right ahead. And for everybody else, as you know, we're in tough times. If you don't have money, just enjoy the music. That's what it's really here for. If you have some spare money that you want to give tonight's performers, tomorrow night's performers, we're just going to share it across the board, and it'll be much appreciated. And those links will be easy to see on YouTube and on Facebook. So with that said, the next performer is somebody that I got to hear live for the first time at the Banjo Gathering last year or the year before in Bristol, Tennessee. And I understand he was a Galax Banjo winner a couple years back. Versatile musician, incredible fiddle player, great clawhammer banjo player, but really becoming best known for his three-finger style classic banjo playing that you're about to be treated to. He's got a pretty new album that he can tell you about. I purchased a copy and have listened to it many times. Fabulous music. So all the way from, I think it's Minnesota, but it might be Wisconsin, and he might have to correct me on that. Where are you?
Detroit.
Detroit.
Oh, yeah,
I wasn't
okay.
even close.
That's pretty
Good
close.
thing I didn't make that a skill testing question for myself. All the way from
I
Detroit.
think it's close.
What year did you win the Galax Banjo contest?
Never. I won the Galax Fiddle contest a couple times.
Never.
Oh,
Yeah, I got a couple of ribbons at the Wilson County Fair for playing banjo.
Perfect.
I haven't
And
done a lot of contests.
okay, that was false news. I take that one back. But tell me about your new album.
Yeah, I was gonna mention it like during the show, but yes, it's out. I have a lot of copies of it. I was gonna be on tour most of this time that we've been at home. So if you'd like a copy, you can get them from my website, aaronjonahlewis.com, or from Tiki Parlor Records. The album looks like this. It's got a 32-page insert, which I've never done a thing like that. But no, actually, I did do that once a long time ago. But it's got a lot of great stuff. Jerron Paxton, Greg Adams, Joel Hooks, Becky Schneider, a lot of great banjo, especially classic banjo people have contributed to the liner notes. Yeah, I don't know. It's all music by Joe Morley, and some of these pieces have never been recorded before. Some of them have only been published recently. So it's kind of exciting. It's a different style of music, and you're about to hear a bunch of it.
I'm looking forward to it. Take it away, Aaron Jonah Lewis.
That was The Banshee by Emil Grimshaw. And now I'm going to play for you a piece by Joe Morley, who I call the Mozart of the banjo. This piece is on my new album, and it's called Banjo Town. No, sorry. This is called Banjo Land. So easy to confuse them. Different pieces. Banjo Land. I feel like there's a real story to this piece. I don't have time to get into all of it, but I picture an army of banjos marching in the distance, and they're getting closer and closer. And when they get close enough, you realize that there's no threat. It's actually just going to be a really lovely time. So here's Banjo Land by Joe Morley. All right. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. It's been really wonderful to get to hear, Paul and Cathy and Marcy and Brad all playing. And it's a great honor to be part of this festival. This music that I'm playing and this instrument really deserves a lot of background, a lot of context. And in a normal show where I have a lot of time, I will go into great detail. But tonight I'm not really going to, and also it's kind of safe to assume most of you are already, have some knowledge about where the banjo comes from. This music comes from before bluegrass or jazz or even old time as we most of the time think of it, as we're used to hearing it. This was really gaining steam around the middle of the 19th century and getting recorded just at the dawn of recording technology. And it was really, really popular at the turn of the century. I'm just going to kind of keep rolling with the pieces, with the music. I'd like to play for you now the saddest piece that I know how to play. And, sorry to put a value on it before I even play it, but I think it's objectively sad. It's a piece by Chopin called Prelude Opus 28 number 20 in C minor. It's an original arrangement. I have not recorded it yet. I haven't played it for very many people, so you are privileged tonight to hear it. I'm going to follow this piece with a frivolous novelty rag by Percy Wenrich called The Smiler. which was recorded by Fred Van Epps, among many others. But Fred Van Epps is worth noting because he was, the last great banjoist of the classic banjo generations. So here we go. Prelude number 20, Opus 28. That makes me smiler. So there's one from an American composer. This stuff was just real big in England and in America. Little known fact that I like to share: a roughly equal number of banjos have been manufactured in the U.S. as in England. Who knew that the British people were so crazy about banjos? So I'm going to play another piece for you by a British composer. This is one of my more modern pieces. This comes from probably the 1940s or 50s. It's a piece by Frank Laws called Progressions. I'd like to play for you now. I don't know how much time I have. I think I'm just gonna close with the greatest rag ever written. Would that be all right? This was written by Scott Joplin, the greatest ragtime composer ever. And this one's called The Maple Leaf Rag. If somebody tells me I have more time after this, I could play another Joplin piece or another ragtime piece or another Morley piece or whatever. But anyway, this one is about as good as it gets. So here we go. The Maple Leaf Rag.
Okay, my banjo's going in the trash. There it goes. Hey, wow, Aaron, you are a magician. That was beautiful. Incredible playing. I highly recommend everybody run out and buy this album. Where's the best place to get it?
Either from aaronjonahlewis.com or from Tiki Parlor Records, oldtimetikiparlor.com, I think it is. Either way, it takes you to the same place if you click on the link on my website. So
I've been playing it regularly on my radio show on Bluegrass Country, and I love the liner notes as well. Such a thorough description, not only of Joe Morley, but sort of your journey, and it's just a beautiful collection. So much thought put into it, and congrats on such an awesome album and a wonderful performance tonight. Thanks so much, Aaron, for joining us. Good to see you, and good to hear you.
yeah, thanks for having me. This was great.
Looking forward to catching up in real life at some point in the not too distant
Absolutely.
future. And be well over there in Detroit, and we'll catch up soon. Good night, Aaron.
All right, thanks. Good night,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Alrighty now. Thank you to everybody who's contributed so far to that virtual tip jar. Really appreciate it. As I get organized here, running the tech side of things. And we've got one more performer before we go. And then Cathy and I will wrap things up at the end. Maybe do a little trade-off and maybe some trivia as well. I don't know if we want to do any trivia now. Cathy, you can jump on if you'd like to. If not, we'll just proceed here with the concert this evening, which is streaming on my YouTube channel and then also on the Mike Seeger Commemorative Old Time Banjo Festival Facebook page. And we have a whole bunch of great workshops tomorrow from Paul Brown. Cathy's doing a workshop, and our next performer, Jake Blount, will be doing a workshop on drive and groove. And really excited about our next performer, who was our MC for the online Old Time Banjo contest and gave us a nice show back in whenever that was. His time evaporates these days. I guess it was August. And we are really happy to have him this evening all the way from Providence, Rhode Island, his new home. He used to live just that way, about 30 miles, living here in the D.C. area, and certainly miss being able to play tunes and having you around, although I guess it doesn't really matter much these days. But his new album, Spider Tales, rocketed to the top of the Billboard Bluegrass charts. I think it hit number 2, and he's been featured on NPR and many other major publications in roots music, one of the most important voices in old time and beyond these days. Please make welcome, everybody, Jake Blount. Take it away.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, turn on your original sound. It sounds like it's a little fuzzy there.
Zoom says that it is on.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, then we're all good. Well, maybe never mind.
Fingers crossed.
Okay, go for it. Okay.
Oh, cuckoo, fine bird, she wobbles as she flies. She never holler cuckoo till the full day of July. Jack of diamonds, Jack of diamonds, I know you from old. You're stripped on of my pockets, of the silver and the gold. I've gambled in England, I've gambled in Spain. I'll bet you $5 I'll beat you next game. Young Willie, he's my darling. Young Willie, he's my man. Young Willie, he's my darling. Young Willie, he's my man. Gonna build me a log cabin on a mountain so high, so I can see Willie as he goes passing by. Well, thank you all very much for tuning in. I hope our little fuzzy sound issue resolved itself. I am, as you have heard, Jake Blount. Super excited to be here, part of the show tonight. Always exciting to tune in front of large numbers of people. But that's what Banjo Fest is all about. I'm gonna let this settle down a little bit. Oh. That was called The Cuckoo. I'm sure most of you are familiar with some version of that tune. That particular one comes from a banjo player named Rufus Casey. In tune when I put it down. More or less back there. This next one is the first track off of my new album Spider Tales that Brad mentioned. You can find that through Free Dirt Records and pretty much any of your usual online places. Bandcamp, Tidal, Spotify, iTunes, whatever you use, you can find it. And I will be appreciative. This is Goodbye Honey, You Call That Gone from Lucius Smith of Sardis, Mississippi. All right, here I'm gonna mix it up a little bit and play some fiddle at Banjo Fest. I hope I don't get disqualified. Well, I hope everyone else is enjoying the changing seasons. My instruments surely are not. I signed up for this. That was Old Timey Gray Eagle from Manco Sneed of Cherokee, North Carolina. I'm going to play a couple more for you on the banjo. Why, you may be asking, does Jake suddenly not own instrument stands? And the answer is because I am hiding from the plague on a small island in Maine and arrived lightly equipped. May we all find places of refuge in this difficult season. I'm going to play another song off of Spider Tales. This one was written by a dear friend and mentor of mine who actually has a birthday today. So Judy Hyman, if you are watching, happy birthday. This is one of Judy's tunes called Beyond This Wall. Well, thank you. I'm going to play one more. But I really enjoy that last tune. It feels like a good tune for the moment, and has ever since I made up my mind to record it. Jeff and Judy named that tune after an inscription on the wall of a concentration camp. And I think for me it's important to be playing that tune right now, because once again, walls have sort of occupied the center of our socio-political discourse for a long time now. It's hard to believe it's been 5 years of us talking about a wall. And, you know, it's the same people bringing it up for the same reasons as it was back then. And I think it's important now, as any other time, but especially with the freedom of our government being threatened, with 200,000 people dead, preventably so, within our borders, to remember all of the walls that have been built before, and of the fate that befell them and their creators. I'm going to play a song that's been a bit of a comfort to me in these past few months, and I think to some other folks that I've had the joy of playing it for. It's one of my favorites. I learned it from John and Alan Lomax's American Folk Songs and Ballads collection off of some sheet music there, and I took it down to Southern Virginia and played it for my grandparents who still live on the family farm down there. And it's the only time this has happened. I started playing the song for them, and they started singing along. They knew the song already. With a different name than was in the book. My grandfather said, that's one of the old songs, that's Do Remember Me. Thank you all for tuning in. And thanks to Brad and Cathy for making this happen. It's been super fun to see the ways all of these things have continued online, and I think the events you two have masterminded have been amongst the most impressive of the online adaptations I've seen. So thank you very much for including me. I have admired both of your playing for a very long time, and it's a real honor to be included here. When my blood runs chilly and cold, I've got to go, I've got to go, I've got to go. When my blood runs chilly and cold, I've got to go, way beyond the moon. Do Lord, do remember me. Do Lord, do remember me. Do Lord, do remember me. Do Lord, remember me. Got a mother in the Beulah land. She's calling to me. She's calling to me. She's calling to me. Got a mother in the Beulah land. She's calling to me. Way beyond the moon. Do Lord, do remember me. If you can bear no crosses, you can't wear no crown. If you can't bear no crosses, you can't wear no crown. If you can't bear no crosses, you can't wear no crown. Way beyond the moon. Do remember me. Do remember me. Do remember me. Do Lord, remember me. The harder your crosses, the brighter your crown. The harder your crosses, the brighter your crown. The harder your crosses, the brighter your crown. Way beyond the moon. Do remember me. Do remember me. Do remember me. Do remember me. Thanks, everybody.
What a beautiful ending to our evening. Thank you so much, Jake, for that wonderful performance. Great singing and playing as always. And it seemed like it was just yesterday when we were both hanging out at the Station Inn where you probably got that shirt.
Indeed.
Back in late February, sharing a bill, playing a concert. That was like the show I played before all of this, a
Same.
normal concert. That was a really fun night. And I always remember that evening. Suddenly happened to be my 30th birthday as well. But
Yeah.
I remember you put on a great show with Libby, with Tui, and man, what I would do to be back in that kind of setting.
Let's go
Thank you
back
so
and
much,
do it
Jake. That was
sometime.
cool. Yeah, for sure.
Our time will come
Okay, well,
again.
have a great evening, Jake, and we'll see you tomorrow in your banjo workshop.
Yes, indeed.
And there are still plenty of spaces available, and all the workshops with Zoom we can have as many as we want. So join us tomorrow, and we've got the link there posted at the top with how to purchase tickets for the workshops. So,
Yeah, let me mention,
so long,
folks,
Jake. We'll
that at 11 o'clock Eastern time is when we're going to cut off sales for the workshops tomorrow. And same thing on Sunday for the Sunday workshop. So if you're thinking about it and you sleep in and it's 11:01, you might miss the boat. Don't do that. Take Jake's workshop and all of the workshops if you want to. You can still get the weekend pass. And it's a really great lineup. Tomorrow night's concert, same time, same place. And it'll be Brad Kolodner and Nora Brown and Hillary Burhans and Abigail Washburn. And I'll make a little appearance and do some more of the MC work. And we're so grateful that you were all here tonight. Thank you.
Yeah, good night, Jake. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Great to see you, Jake. Great to hear you. Beautiful set.
So, well, that does it for our concert this evening. Thank you to Cathy and all of you out there who have contributed to the virtual tip jar. And those of you who tuned in and shared the event, we'll see you tomorrow evening. And as someone just commented that I saw somewhere online, that wish Mike, if only Mike were here too. Certainly a sentiment we all share at the Mike Seeger Commemorative Old Time Banjo Festival, in his honor, naming this festival. And we've sort of pivoted to the online version for now.
I don't think Mike could have imagined this being online, to tell you the truth.
I don't even know. This is such a foreign concept.
It's a totally foreign concept, but
being able to do something like this,
he would be thrilled to see the wide, diverse group of people who have come together in all three of these events and the banjo contest, to share music and learn from each other and keep the love of the banjo going.
And don't get me wrong, I love clawhammer, but it is so refreshing to hear other styles represented tonight, with Paul's two-finger playing and Aaron Jonah Lewis's classic style banjo, and then Jake with playing clawhammer, such groovy, interesting textures, and Cathy and Marcy, of course, with a wonderful set as well. So we will catch up with you all tomorrow in the workshops, and see you tomorrow night at the next concert, right here at the same place, same time, 8 p.m. Okay. Good night, everybody. So long.
I wished I was in Bowling Green, sitting in my chair, one arm around my pretty little gal, and the other around my dear, and around my dear. Bowling Green, oh, good old Bowling Green. If you see that man of mine, tell him once for me. If he loves another gal, I will set him free. Yes, I'll set him free.